Hello everyone, welcome back to the Loony Bin. My name is Loony and welcome to the first Loony Internet Moment of 2025. And it's really kind of a story of two different fandoms that I want to discuss to you. That the fandoms decided to do something that lately a lot of people have started thinking about doing, essentially, for when a series ends. And that is creating this real ending to a story that they've been consuming for many years. And I understand that when you don't like a certain ending to a series that you've been following for years, that you devoted a lot of your life to, and you don't like the ending and want to change and want it to be changed, that you don't want it to end that way because you feel that there's a better ending out there than what the author has created. And the two fandoms I want to talk about, because they kind of ended last year, and that fandom is both Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan, and a small nod to another series that ended last year in My Hero Academia, because all three series have had fans that have wanted to change the endings to their story for many different reasons. Now, in order to give you, some context about what I think of all three series, I think My Hero Academia ended a little underwhelming, but it was still perfectly fine. I thought the ending was, done well, and I have no issues with the ending. Attack on Titan, I've had, a long time being a fan of, but I wasn't too thrilled about the ending to it, right, in terms of the writing and stuff like that. But it all started before even the ending to Attack on Titan, where I had my critique on it, but I still think it's one of the greatest animes to essentially exist. And then Jujutsu Kaisen. I've watched a few episodes of JJK, but never really got into the series. To me, JJK was similar to the way I saw Yu Yu Hakusho's Dragon Ball Z, in that Dragon Ball Z was great if you love the fights. But for me, I'm more of a storytelling individual. And Jujutsu Kaisen, from what I've seen from the first couple, I believe 7 episodes, maybe it's too small amount of episodes to get really into the main story, but I've seen people talk about it. Seeing people online, discussing a lot of it was mostly through the fights, because I think Jujutsu Kaisen is mostly a fighting manga that really has some of the best fight moments and scenes that I've, or at least what fans have been talking about mostly in the Jujutsu Kaisen community. But I'm not a big follower of Jujutsu Kaisen. However, I do follow mostly whenever series ends. Mostly because I do kind of want to see how a series, ends and how people feel about it, as well as, there's also shipping reasons. But Jujutsu Kaisen isn't really necessarily a big shipping manga unless you really like yaoi shipping, right? But that being said, despite that, I do feel like the one thing that I feel fans shouldn't do in that sort of, context is that they shouldn't believe that they could write a better ending. Right? If an author chooses the way he wants to end it, then that's the way the author ends it, right? You could disagree on it, you could critique it, yes, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to like the ending at all. That's not what the biggest, it's not the biggest thing you have to like, the ending to the series that you followed. There's nothing wrong with, disliking it, critiquing it, and so on, right? You could, not like the ending and just move on with your life. But the idea to create your own fan ending, I feel is a little bit overstepping your boundaries. You feel like the ending that you got was disrespectful to the series that you've watched, because that's not how you wanted that ending. You thought the ending was ass, and all of a sudden you want the author to recreate the ending, to change it, because to you it sucked, right? You could claim it sucks. You could claim not liking it. But to do this, I think, is such a loony thing to do. Recreating or creating a fan ending to appease yourself. Or a group of people come together who dislike the ending and work together to create this fan ending. And both Jujutsu Kaisen recently just got this fan ending drawn by some fans, which also, unfortunately, also includes some not only AI images, but apparently also tracing certain manga panels from the actual Jujutsu Kaisen manga, which, both of these are warning, red alert, like that's not a good thing. You know, I understand that, but it's not a good thing to do this at all. It's kind of loony for people to do this. And not only that, but it's this concept that if you don't like, you know, the ending to something, you know, there's some people who believe that, well, if you don't like it, you know, you should, you know, create your own manga, you know, and make your own story and see if it becomes successful, right? And they took it upon that as a threat or something and created this fan project to fix the ending. That is the worst part. Fixing the ending. You're not fixing the ending. What you're doing is essentially insulting the author, right? Insulting the person who actually created this because you disagreed with him. And this is happening also with Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan just recently, some studio, I believe, is releasing some sort of fan animation of a true ending or the fixed ending to Attack on Titan. Both are... I don't understand this. I think it's a very loony thing to do. I think it's really crazy. Apparently, it also revealed that Studio Eclipse, the one who's doing this fan animation project, apparently were doing a Berserk fan animation project. They had set up a Patreon, you know, got people to, you know, donate to them to fund them for this project. And apparently, the studio has had some controversies in regards to it. To the point where apparently in this Reddit thread it was claimed that they unpublished their Patreon page, did not even finish the Berserk fan animation, no refunds were given to any supporter, and they locked their Twitter account. So that's a really big red flag for this studio. I don't know anything of like the actual legitimacy of this, but if this is true, and I'm not saying it is, but if this is true, that is a really big red flag, and it really it's not going down a good path. Let's just put it that way. This doesn't lead to anything good, so be wary of this. And again, like I said, it's very concerning if this is actually true of what actually happened. I don't know, but hopefully it is not true. And yeah, that is also another red flag from the studio who's doing this Attack on Titan fan animation, if it's true. It really insults a lot of creators when you try to fix something that you may disagree with, but at the end of the day, it's what they decided on. It's what they want to do. Now, if an author came out and said, no, this isn't really how I want it to end, but I was just forced to because of, you know, a publisher or something like that, that's a different story, because that means that they were just forced. The reason why a lot of people claim that Bleach kind of, you know, the Bleach ending was kind of disrespectful to Kubo is because Kubo wanted to technically end the series at a certain point or take a break, but he never was. At least that's what the reports and rumors once said. But at the same time, you know, he now has a chance to do a lot of that stuff, a lot of the fixing with the anime that just came out. But again, that is because Kubo himself wasn't pleased. From what I understand, both the author for Attack on Titan and the author for Jujutsu Kaisen were perfectly fine with their endings. Just because you didn't like it doesn't mean you have to fix it. To me, that's disrespectful to the author, to the mind of the creator, that fans take it upon themselves to fix something that, you know, they feel like, oh, no, don't fix it. It's perfectly fine. That's how I want it to end, right? My Hero Academia has a very similar thing, but with My Hero Academia, it's not really the main story of it. It's more towards shipping issues, where Chapter 431, the last chapter that was actually kind of like a bonus epilogue chapter in the final volume of My Hero Academia, showcased a ship winning. And people didn't like, you know, that ship winning, essentially, specific the ones who were against it, and wanted to essentially recreate their own endings that fit their ship. Now, part of that is just fan art, which is why I'm not labeling close to what, you know, what's happening with Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen, right? But at the same time, you're not fixing anything. You believe you're fixing something, but at the end of the day, you're not fixing anything. You're stepping over the author because you believe you know the story more than the author does. That is legit really disrespectful, right? It's really not something that you should be doing. And both Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen are both getting these fan projects that claim to become the real ending or the fixed ending, which is just it's such a loony thing to do. Fandoms have grown from days of like, you know, early 2000, where people were, you know, were critiquing the ending if they didn't like it, but moving past that to this weird like feeling that it should cater to myself only, and the ending should only be what I want it to be, and if the author doesn't give me that ending, then it's bullshit. It's a terrible ending, regardless of like what the author meant through that ending that people, you know, defend, right? And you know, people would be called glazers, dick riders, you know, that kind of stuff, right? And it's not really defending it to be like some sort of dick rider or some sort of like author angel. It's legit. Like, you could have the criticism, but trying to claim you're fixing something, that is stepping over that line that you shouldn't. That's not what the fandom is there for. You can create your fan fiction ending if you wish, but don't claim you're fixing it. That's where people get angry. That's where people get pissed off, and that's where you're stepping over that boundary. You could create a fan fiction, you know, a side ending that you preferred for that manga. You could critique the ending to the manga. That's perfectly fine. You could create fan fiction, right? As long as you maintain the idea that it is a fan fiction. But to claim you're fixing the ending, I feel like that's just wrong. And I think any fandom that tries to do this, you know, it's just you're being a little loony there. So just take a step back. Realize that, you know, there's a lot more important things in life. You can move on to a new series. I understand it's kind of hard to do that because you spent so many years, you know, following the series and enjoying yourself. And I understand that. I would be upset if like One Piece ended in a way that I didn't like. But at the same time, I'm not going to go around saying, you know, I'm fixing the ending. Because I don't care enough about doing that. And I understand that's a little disrespectful to the author who spent years working on this. Many sleepless nights. And it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird one. Maybe I'm the loony one to think that this is just something we shouldn't be doing. But I just personally feel like trying to claim you're fixing something isn't fixing it. You're just being a person who just can't handle, you know, something that you don't like. And it's just, maybe I'm old. I'm being a grumpy old man now. I don't know, but I do feel like the fans who are so-called fixing the ending to these series, I feel you're just stepping over the line a little bit. Do what you gotta do. I'm not a big Jujutsu Kaisen or Attack on Titan fan, but at the same time, I could critique you doing this. Like, you could critique the ending, you could dislike it, but at the same time, don't claim to be fixing something just because you not only think you are fixing the ending, but also using AI or, you know, tracing over panels or stuff like that. I'm sorry. That's like a really lame thing to do. But, yep, that was the Loony moment, Loony internet moment I want to talk about for the first time this year, and I just found it a little weird, but we'll see what happens with the rest of 2025. We'll probably see some more loony moments, but thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and talk to you guys later. All right, bye bye.